Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay Sporting Goods, the Yider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons and Polarcraft Boats, The Forward Corporation, Primal Tree Stands, Shadow Hunter Blinds, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine show right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network, 32 AM and FM stations across the great state of Michigan. And it is my pleasure, I am blessed to sit at this microphone every week for 3 hours talking about the history and tradition of the outdoor lifestyle here in the great state of Michigan, and occasionally beyond hunting and fishing and shooting and trapping and wildlife issues and conservation issues, even some wild game cooking. And so glad to have you along with us. I do certainly appreciate it. As we are recording this show right now, it will be the last Outdoor Magazine radio show before the Michigan Firearm deer season opens. 1/2 hour before sunrise on November 15th. The day that we used to say you could hear sunrise in Michigan. And I think in many parts of our state that is still the case. What a cool tradition this is. I will be out there opening day, probably not opening morning, but opening night I will be out there, and I'll have a 30-06 in my hands, which is a very, very weird feeling for me. It's something that I'm not used to. Not that I'm not used to having guns in my hands, but I'm not used to deer hunting with a rifle. Biggest buck I have ever taken was with a rifle. It was a it was a 270. I took it in Kansas several years ago now at this point. But there's something about that opening day that I do want to be a part of. I think back to opening days when I was a kid. You know, this is such a tradition here in Michigan. This Orange Army used to be Red Plaid Army if you're an old guy. My dad used to go to the UP to hunt deer when I was little, like a baby, because we didn't have deer in Kent County where I grew up. There weren't that many. So he would, and a buddy, would drive north to the Straits. They would take a ferry across the states and go deer hunting in the UP. In fact, somewhere I have I can't put my hands on it right now. I need to find it. A postcard from my dad showing this long length of cars waiting to cross the Straits because they were going deer hunting. Then we started to see deer showing up more in the southern part of the state. My deer hunting early days were in Kent County, behind the farmhouse that is now pretty much a subdivision. But back then it was a big old woodlot and fields and farm lots, and it was wonderful. And I didn't know anything about deer hunting at all. Not that I know very much at all these days, and I will readily admit that. But to the point where back then, I didn't know what a rub was. I didn't know what a scrape was. I saw them out there in the woods, but I think I knew they were made by deer, but I didn't quite get what it was all about. But I'd sit back there. Was I wearing red at that point or orange? Behind the house or in one of the neighbor's fields or on the edge of one of the neighbor's fields, sitting on a stump or next to a stump, just hoping a deer would wander by. And I didn't care if it had to be a buck. I mean, back then in our family, it did have to be a buck because you bought doe tags and you burned them so nobody else would shoot a doe. Remember those days? So we've come a long way since then, haven't we? But it had to be a buck. I didn't care if it was a spike. 4-point, 6-point, back then to me, a 6-point was a 6-point, an 8-point was an 8-point. It didn't matter if it was a year and a half old or 4.5 years old. I mean, just the mindset back then. But our house was kind of the unofficial deer camp for opening day. My dad worked for the Kent County Sheriff's Department, so a couple of his deputy buddies would come up. And there was a baker. This was one of the favorite parts. My dad was friends with a baker down in Grand Rapids. I guess he'd stop by there and have coffee, because cops have coffee and donuts, right? Stereotype. But this baker would always bring a couple of dozen. He'd bring a couple of big boxes of fresh donuts from his bakery. And he'd put them on the kitchen table. And that was part of our opening day of firearm season. Oh, so that's the beginning part of my history and tradition of deer season here in Michigan. These days, opening day, I think my granddaughter Addison will be out there. My son James will be out there. I will be out there. I don't know if Trent's going to be out there, but there will be 3 generations of our family enjoying deer hunting in Michigan, trying to put down a deer. I will have a 30-06 in my hands because in my mind, that is the Michigan deer gun. For many of you, it's a 30-30. These days, it's more likely to be a 450 or a 350, whatever. But for me, it's a 30-06 because my dad hunted with a 30-06 forever. So a couple of years ago, I bought myself an inexpensive, bold-action 30-06, and that's what I will have in my hands. Knowing full well that when I go out there, I'm not planning on shooting a deer with it. It seems strange, doesn't it? I mean, I get it. Even to me, it seems strange. I'm going out there opening day with a rifle in my hands, not planning to shoot a deer. It would take a really, really big buck for me to pull the trigger on a deer with a gun. And this is where it's going to get weird. And some of you are going to think, Avery, you finally made the jump over into crazy town. And some of you are going to say, what an elitist idiot. And I get that. In my mind, if I shoot a deer, I want it to be with an arrow. Now, these days it's going to be a crossbow. And so you might say, well, a crossbow, why don't you just shoot it with a gun? And I get that. But there's something about whether it's a doe or a buck, I want to shoot it with an arrow. Whether it's a recurve, a compound, a crossbow, that's the way I want to do it. Now, make no mistake. If a really, really big buck, 3.5 years or bigger, walks by me opening morning or opening night and gives me a shot, I'll shoot it. But the point of this story is, if there is a point at this juncture, deer season means different things to different people. And that's okay. We hunt in different ways. We hunt in different areas. We use different techniques. We use different tools to take those animals, and that's okay. Go back to hunt your hunt, whatever that is. If you want to shoot a doe, God bless you. If you want to shoot a 1.5-year-old buck, God bless you. It's your license. It's your hunt. It's your experience. It's your adventure. It's your venison. Hunt the way you want to hunt. As long as it's legal, hunt the way you want to do it. Just be part of this tradition. Do we ever see deer drives anymore? I was just thinking here right now, we used to do a lot of deer drives. After the first couple of days of the season and the deer had all hunkered down in the swamps, we would drive the swamps. We would drive the cornfields, get those deer moving, get them up on their feet. I never see anybody do deer drives anymore. Oh. Just get out there and have fun. That's what I'm going to do. Get out there and have fun and be part of this tradition that is the opening day of deer season in Michigan, the firearm deer season. Now, you do have to admit that the opening day is not the celebration that it used to be because, again, going back to when I was a kid, nobody bow hunted. We only gun hunted. And there were no early seasons. There was no special doe season. There was no Liberty hunt. There was no youth season. There was nothing like that. So November 15th was the day that we had a chance to get out there and go after a deer. And in my mind, gun season should open on November 15th. Now, over the years, there has been a lot of talk about changing it to the first Saturday closest to the 15th so more people can take advantage of it. And I understand that mindset. I understand people who don't have a flexible schedule. I understand business owners wanting that. And And I just don't see it's ever going to happen. I just don't see it happening. What else is on my list? I did have a close encounter with a big buck this past week. Not while I was hunting. My wife Denise and I were out driving on a Sunday afternoon, and out of the cornfield next to the house comes a big 2.5-year-old 8-point, beautiful buck. Comes up, walks around. He's not following a doe. He doesn't have his nose to the ground, but he comes up out of the cornfield just moving slow like he owns the world, like he's king of the universe. He comes up on the exit ramp, stands there, looks around, crosses the ramp, starts moving over towards the freeway. And I thought, oh, no. This buck is so stupid right now. He's going to cross the freeway. He's going to get hit, and some family is going to be in an accident because this deer was too stupid right now to look around. Deer wanders over to the freeway. He stops at the shoulder. I'm praying, please turn around. Don't cross the freeway. He wanders over. Again, he's not looking for traffic. He's not running. He's moving slow. He crosses one side of the freeway, 2 lanes of traffic. Nobody touches him. He stands there in the median and like, please. He crosses the other side of the freeway. He just happens to find an opening in traffic, not because he was smart enough to look for it. It's just that's the way it was. He crossed 4 lanes of traffic, walked over, crossed a city street, and never got touched. I was thankful that nobody got hurt, but I'm thinking, where is a buck like that when I want him, when I'm hunting him? No, I find him a couple hundred yards from the house as I'm driving home. Those are the deer we want, right? The stupid deer. I'll take a stupid deer anytime. We'll take a break here on the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, deer tracking hounds. It's a big deal here in Michigan. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Alpena on WZTK. That's 105.7 FM. You can hear us in St. Joe on WSJM 94.9 FM. You can hear us in Lansing on WILS 1320 AM. And in Newberry on WNBY 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by the Linwood Beach Marina and Campground. Linwood Beach can be your year-round Saginaw Bay fishing destination and your Mid-Michigan tracker and angler quest headquarters. For more info, check them out online at linwoodbeachmarina.com. That's linwoodbeachmarina.com. Kind of continuing on in our deer hunting theme right now, if you have hunted long enough, you have been in a situation where you've had to track a whitetail. It is actually, when it's a good track, it's one of the most rewarding parts of the hunt. When it's a tough track, it can be very frustrating. It is the goal of every hunter to make a quick, clean, humane killing shot. We don't want to have to track animals for a long distance. But the reality is, if you hunt long enough, something's going to happen where you're not going to make the best shot. The animal's going to move. You get a little bit of a deflection, whatever. And you're going to call in help. Now, in the past, that was calling in all your buddies and doing a grid search, and those could be very effective. But recently, I say recently, for the last several years now, tracking dogs have been allowed here in Michigan, and there are lots of stories of people who have had successful hunts because a tracking dog was brought in. Ken Jordan is one of the guys from the Michigan Deer Tracking Network. You can learn more about him on Facebook at Jordan's Deer Tracking Hounds. And he's with me now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Ken, welcome to the show. How are you?
Great. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing real good. Listen, how is your season? How's your fall going so far?
Very, very busy. Weekends are out of control with phone calls. The bigger name trackers are putting anywhere from 20 to 40 phone calls a day. It's just, we can't keep up. We try to answer everybody. We try to get everybody some help that we can, but it's getting very, very popular.
Well, that's a good thing, though, right? The popularity and the fact there are more people turning to your services sounds like you could use more dogs out there, though.
Ultimately, we could. And it is a great thing that people are, doing everything they can to recover their animals. sure we get some of the, it's a big buck. I just want reinsurance. I want to lock down that I have every opportunity to recover this. But a lot of times too, the deer may not leave a blood trail, and it's dead in 150 yards, but you can't find it. It's thick, dense brush. You don't really know which trail it took. There's so many different scenarios.
And a successful track doesn't necessarily end up with an animal in front of you. I mean, I would think that if you can confirm that that animal is still alive, in a sense, that's a success too.
It is, and the trackers in the network, we don't really count like a shoulder shot, that you bump up and fit 500 yards. It's a successful track for the hunter, but we don't, add that to our numbers on our recoveries. Sure, we've confirmed, we gave the hunter closure. He can go to sleep at night and rest assured that the deer is most likely going to live to see another day.
I would think, too, that when somebody calls you, you must do a little bit of an interview process right there on the phone before you ever even decide to come out?
Absolutely. We run through it's probably a 5-minute interview. We want to ensure that we're helping the hunters that the animals are most likely going to be a recoverable deer, especially when we're busy. A lot of guys, especially us older guys, have always been taught go up the front leg and pull the trigger, and today's technology where it's taken us with speed over kinetic energy, you really can't do that no more. These big expandable broadheads don't go through that front shoulder. Example, today I was on Facebook looking, and there's a meat processor that put a whole little Tupperware bowl of broadheads he's pulled out of deer this year, and there was probably a dozen of them in there, and there was only one fixed blade. All the rest were mechanicals.
So, can we learn something from this? What do you tell me?
Well, the way the mechanicals open, it's kind of, some of them swivel back, and what you ultimately can get is a deflection. We've seen where you enter on the left side of the body at the shoulder and come out in the left side of the hip, in the rear hip. Deflection is a huge thing in today's bow world. People say, "Oh, you can't. You got to practice more," but you can't stop a deflection.
Yeah.
The way they open, the way they hit a rib, you're gonna get deflections. We've had them go straight down. We've had them go straight up. We've had them slide right underneath the skin and open them up like a zipper. And ultimately, we try very, very hard to recover them deer because infection's eventually gonna set in, and it's not a good way to go.
So do you think a fixed blade is a better way to go?
See, and there's controversy on that too, because now you got a fixed blade, but on today's speed of a bow, it almost, to me, it seems like some of the fixed blades act as a fletching in front of the arrow, causing the arrow not to fly as true as a mechanical.
A personal choice then.
Yes, it is. And, I had one guy that was extremely, extremely knowledgeable that we tracked for. He had 3 crossbows in his truck, and every one of them were for a different hunting situation for him. Woods, open field, thicket. And
wow.
Each one was a different speed and a different size arrow. He was very, very in tune with everything going on with the crossbow.
Well, we got firearm season coming up here now. That's got to change things for you guys as trackers.
We actually slow down quite a bit. You get up north and you're going to have snow on the ground in the gun season. You're going to ultimately, to me, with a rifle and that type of gun, we don't get up in the rifle zone. We're in the lower zone. To me, a rifle just puts them down a lot faster. Sure, can it still hit the shoulder and not go through? Absolutely. Can you still get a gut shot? Absolutely. So it's going to be a big changer. A lot of the trackers won't track during opening weekend just because there's so many people out in the woods. And if they do track, it's going to be mainly at night.
For the safety of the dog?
Safety of the dog, and ultimately in Michigan, we don't have the big parcels of land that you can just go, if you do an 800-yard track, you're going to cross somebody else's property line, mainly in Michigan. Can you stay on your property? Absolutely. Some people are fortunate and they have, a square mile, which is very rare. But mainly you got 40-acre parcels, so you really have to get the permission from the neighboring people, which would be great if you did it before season, but most people do it after they shoot. If we could get, 3 or 4 parcels over, depending on the shot that we're dealing with, a leg hit, a broken leg, we're going to need some land to work that deer. A shoulder hit, you're going to need some land to work that deer. You're gonna most likely with those have to put another shot in on it, which is really huge if you're state certified, because then you can take the dog, you can track up to the animal, even in the night, and the hunter can dispatch an animal with the weapon of the season with a state certified tracker.
I want to make sure I understand this here. Even with the weapon of the season. Okay, so if it was a bow kill or a bow shot, and they're with a certified tracker, and you're out after dark, can the hunter carry that bow, or does he have to go back to the truck and get the bow when you find the animal?
Nope, he can carry that bow. We don't allow any ammo or bolts or bow, an arrow knocked at any time until, it comes time. And that's for our safety as well as our dog's safety.
Oh, yeah.
We want to be able to pull back our dog and get them, in clear. And if that deer runs, then we'll track on.
But you as a tracker can also carry a handgun as well. Can you dispatch the animal, or does the hunter have to do it?
Only way that you can legally dispatch an animal is if it is threatening you, say it charges you or your dog. It's about to do, harm to you.
And I've heard stories of trackers coming on to bucks like that. Have you ever seen that, Ken?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. We've been charged multiple times. Most of the time it's their last ditch effort. They don't have a whole lot left in the gas tank. We can step out of the way and handle the situation properly.
Yeah, it's still got to get your attention.
Oh, it definitely does. It definitely wakes you up. A lot of the trackers, they start. Typical day for us, we leave at 9 a.m, and sometimes we don't get back until 2, 3 in.
And if our deer season was year round, it could almost be a full time job. But it's just 3 months of the year, so you guys, you either got to be retired or you got to have a full time job on the side. So you're burning the candle on both ends here this time of year.
Absolutely. My work right now is a very busy schedule. We're on 6/10s plus an 8 on Sunday. It really dampers my ability to get out and track with my dog. My son also tracks with me. He runs his own dog, so he's really picked up the slack this year. I mean, I can't thank him enough. I think he's probably at 45 recoveries this year already, and I'm at 3.
Because you're working.
Yeah.
What kind of dogs are you guys running, Ken?
I have a dash hound, a 10-pound dash hound called Bentley, and Sean runs a Slovakian cold puff called Finn.
Now, Finn, I would suspect he bought that with the intent of it being a tracking dog.
Oh, yes. We imported him right out of Slovakia. He got the long plane ride over. We got him, I want to say probably 5 years ago. I think he's 5 now.
Wow. So this has turned into a big deal. This whole concept of tracking dogs and getting the right dog is a big deal these days.
It's a huge deal. The Bavarian Mountain Hound has really taken off in the tracking world. The Bloodhound is, naturally a great pick. But you also have to have a dog that fits into your family and your lifestyle. If you got a 1,000-square-foot house, a Bloodhound's probably not your best option.
Ain't that, Ken? Ain't that? I got to take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. We're talking to Ken Jordan of Jordan's Deer Tracking Hounds on Facebook. He's part of the Michigan Deer Tracking Network. I want to talk more about what you should do. Coming up in this firearm season, do you call in a tracker or not? Then we'll wrap up the hour with Dean Hall of the Michigan Sportsman Against Hunger right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Battle Creek on WBCK 95.3 FM. You can hear us in Flint on Sports Extra 1330 WTRX. And you can hear us in the Sioux on ESPN 1400 WKNW. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Boning Archery. Michigan-based Boning has been a leader in the archery industry for 75 years. This is their 75th anniversary. Roland Boning invented Ferrule-Tite to glue broadheads to, at the time, what were wooden arrow shafts. Man, has archery changed these days. But Boning has continued to change and evolve and innovate with the times. They continue to come up with new products for target archers and bow hunters as well. In fact, as you've been out there in the field this fall bow hunting, I bet you have used Boning products. Check them out online at boning.com. That's BOHNING.com, boning.com. While you are online, head on over to Facebook and check out Jordan's Deer Tracking Hounds and the Michigan Deer Tracking Network. We've got Ken Jordan with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Ken, as we head into this firearm season, I know you've said that people don't call deer trackers as much during firearm season, but what about some words of advice? When would we consider calling in a tracker? When would you suggest?
A lot of times, if you know that you've made a marginal shot, it's best to contact a tracker. It's a lot easier to get off the list than it is to get on our list, to get out there. The most important thing is when you contact them, listen to what the tracker has to offer for advice. He's going to encourage you to really go out and look and check. You know, with the 450s, the 350s, even the muzzleloaders today, they don't leave a great blood trail. They go down, they might not start bleeding for 100 yards. And we really encourage you to go out and check. You know, pay attention. The key thing is pay attention to that deer's body language. You know if you hit them. Stay within your reasoning of shot distance. Just because a box says you can shoot 300 yards, it's not very practical to shoot 300 yards. If you're an average shooter, advanced shooter, and you do it a lot, then that's great. But stay within your marginal reasoning of the shot distance.
Is there a concern that we as hunters, we bring in all of our buddies and we start going over the area? Do we somehow contaminate that area and make it harder for a tracking dog if one is brought in?
Absolutely. The most important thing is stay off the blood trail that you know. Mark that blood trail with toilet paper. If you mark the blood trail with toilet paper, trackers love it. We know our dog is spot on. It's going down the right line. It's a lot easier in daylight to track the known blood trail, but when you get out there at dark, everything is totally different. Mark your last blood, your last blood with the GPS if possible on your phone. It's so much easier to find, especially once you go from daylight to dark. You'd be amazed at how many hunters say, I know this wood's by the back of my hand. All right, where's last blood? Somewhere right in here somewhere.
Yeah. It is amazing. I mean, the woodlot behind the house after dark, it might as well be a foreign country sometimes. Absolutely. I bet you've been on some interesting tracks over the years. What stands out, Ken? We've tracked deer over a mile on just a hoof print, trusting the dog. Them are really rewarding to us, trackers. The ones that they say, we drove our side by side through this whole field and he's not out there, and lo and behold, you go out there and the dog works through that. And it's a rare occasion that the dog can work through it. I don't ever encourage anybody to do that. Yeah. But you work through it and you recover the deer. Kids and first deer, we've had grown men, huge grown men, just massive burly men cry. They've been hunting this buck for 3 years. That is ultimately rewarding. They look for all day with their two buddies, and you go out there and you find it in 25 minutes. Ultimately super rewarding. And why could the hunters not find it and the dog did? What? The lack of the blood. The blood is for the hunter, the tracker, to confirm that we're right. The dog doesn't need the blood. They go off the adrenaline gland, interdigital gland. They go off of breath. They go off of skin cells. They go off of so much more than we'll ever know. And yeah,
the dog can work through a lot of that, especially a majorly hurt deer, say liver gut. It produces so much scent. It's dropping, big particles of scent out of that hole. Even though we can't see the blood, it's still there. The double backs, the deer will double back, they track up to the creek. You hear it so many times. And we got nothing on the other side. We got nothing. It has to be in the river and the creek. And nope, it just did a double back or a J hook and went back in. It's only 30 yards from where you guys lost blood.
Wow. Yeah, it's got to be rewarding. I mean, you're out there, you're working hard, rough conditions, snow, rain, dark, but it's got to be rewarding. And Ken Jordan, I appreciate what you guys at the Michigan Deer Tracking Network have done to help our Michigan deer hunters. And have a good season and get some rest while you're at it.
Will do, buddy. I appreciate your interviewing us and trying to get the best out for the hunters, best advantage to get the deer recovered. Absolutely.
Ken Jordan of the Michigan Deer Tracking Network. On Facebook, he is Jordan's Deer Tracking Hounds. Really a great service. I mean, I've talked to a lot. I have never had to use... No, I won't say... I've never been in a situation where I had to call in a tracking dog, but I wouldn't hesitate. I know buddies who have done that. I know family members who have done that, and it can really be all the difference in the world. So if you are in need this firearm season, check them out, Michigan Deer Tracking Network on Facebook. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, what to do with your venison if you don't want it all. You can donate it to those in need after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Manistee on WTIQ 1490 AM and 95.3 FM. Two of our newest affiliates, by the way. Appreciate that. You can also hear us in Tawas on WIOS AM and FM 1460 AM and 106.9 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Rapid River Knife Works. I have a Rapid River knife in my pocket. In fact, I got it in front of me right now. I use this knife every day. I mean, think about this. A knife is a tool that you reach for several times a day. I do. I reach for mine several times a day. I use it for many, many different jobs around the house, in the field. So why not have a handmade knife from the experts at Rapid River Knife Works in Michigan's UP? Check them out online at rapidriverknifeworks.com, rapidriverknifeworks.com. What a great Christmas present this would be. rapidriverknifeworks.com. Or if you get a chance, stop by their showroom just outside Rapid River. It is absolutely very impressive. Tell the folks there that the big guy Mike Avery suggested you stop by and see him. rapidriverknifeworks.com. Firearm season is coming up, right? And for many people, the reward of the hunt is venison on the table. But there are a lot of hunters who love to hunt but don't necessarily love venison, or they love to hunt and they put a lot of deer in the freezer and don't need any more venison, but they're still out there hunting. What do you do with that? Well, the folks at Michigan Sportsmen Against Hunger have a great idea. They want you to donate that venison to people in need if you so desire. Dean Hall is with that group, and he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Dean, welcome back. How did your hunt go this morning, by the way?
It was a frosty one, Mike. I didn't see any deer, but it's always nice to be out there in the woods.
Absolutely. Dean, I think you guys are doing a great thing there at Michigan Sportsmen Against Hunger. Tell me how this program works.
Well, first off, we want to thank you for the constant support and promotion from you personally and your show, Mike. But the way the program works is anyone could take a deer that they want to donate to Feed the Hungry to any one of our participating processors in the list, and a drop pin map is on our website at sportsmenagainsthunger.org. And once they take it there, just call the processor, let them know they're going to bring in a deer to donate to Michigan Sportsmen Against Hunger. When they get the deer there, it will be at no cost to them. Michigan Sportsmen Against Hunger reimburses the processor for the work they do, and the processor processes the venison into burger to go to local food banks, pantries, and shelters.
So the hunter, there's no cost to the hunter to donate?
No, sir.
And then did you say the processors, they make it all into burger? That's just the standard procedure, standard process?
Yep, that's the thing that food banks, pantries, and shelters desire the most, because it's so variable on what you could use it for in food.
You guys have been quite successful with this. How many years have you been around now, Dean?
Since 1991.
Have you any idea how much venison Michigan hunters have donated?
Well, actually, on our website, on our homepage, it's over 800,000 pounds. And actually, that's going to be bumped up because our year contract year with the state of Michigan, because we work with the Department of Natural Resources, goes from October 1st to September 30th. So from October 1st of 2020 to September 30th of 2021, there's an additional over 99,000 pounds of venison.
Wow, that was so collected. Impressive. That is so impressive. And again, how does a hunter find a processor, and is there a guarantee there will be a processor in my town?
Well, they could check on our website at sportsmenagainsthunger.org. When you go on our homepage, there's an icon to take you directly to the processor list page. And it gives you all the processor information as far as what county. You can go by what county that's on the list, or you can go by a drop pin map. There's a drop pin map on there you could bring up to see what processor is closest to you. And also for the 16th and 17th of November, and also the 20th of November, Jay's Sporting Good is going to be serving as a drop-off deer donation location. That's over in Clare. And they'll be collecting gear from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And Frank's Great Outdoors is going to be doing the same thing on November 16th and 17th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. I know Jay's is going to anyone that takes a deer there, 16th, 17th, or 20th of November, they're going to be able to sign up for a chance to win one of 10 $50 Jay's gift cards, and that's over at the Clare location.
Excellent.
Or the grand prize, which is a Henry 22 rifle with the 50th anniversary Jay's Sporting Goods logo on the stock. Very,
very nice. I just think this is a great program. Sportsmenagainsthunger.org, sportsmenagainsthunger.org. If you've got some extra venison, and you want to help out people, it makes us as hunters look good because we are good people. It helps out people in need, and it lets us be out in the field and keep knocking down venison. Dean Hall, keep up the good work.
Hey, Mike, thank you very much. You keep up the good work as well. Best of health and hunting to you.
I appreciate that very much. Dean Hall of Michigan Sportsmen Against Hunger. The website, sportsmenagainsthunger.org, sportsmenagainsthunger.org. But there are sportswomen who are against hunger as well, and you can take advantage of this too. We'll take a break for the top of the hour. When we come back, one of the most interesting guys that I talk with here on the show, his name is Paul Phillips. He is one of the best extreme long-range shooters in the world, and he's got some big news. Also, Ashley Autenreith from the DNR, and Mark Torregrossa talking about the weather for firearm season as well. Coming up in hour number 2 of Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Yider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons and Polarcraft Boats, The Forward Corporation, Primal Tree Stands, Shadow Hunter Blinds, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Indeed, this is the big guy, Mike Avery, and welcome to hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine show right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network. So glad to have you along with us as I am here in the Outdoor Magazine radio studio, preparing a show that airs on 32 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. Yes, Outdoor Magazine is first and foremost a radio show. It is recorded, it is distributed, it is scheduled, it is designed as a radio show. And I am very, very glad to be able to have 32 stations across the great state of Michigan. And I'm confident. The best way to listen to Outdoor Magazine Radio, if you can, is on your local AM or FM station. Because there you get your local news and weather and sports, and the broadcast stations, the radio stations, get the content before I upload the podcast version of the show. But isn't it nice to know there is a podcast of Outdoor Magazine Radio available if your local station doesn't carry all 3 hours of the show, or if you live in some part of our state not covered by that broadcast signal. So where can you hear the podcast? Well, you can hear it on my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. It's on my Facebook page. It's on Amazon Music, Audible, Twitter, LinkedIn, iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn. I could go through the list. But listen, you know where to get podcasts by now. Just about, probably anywhere you get your podcast from, you can get the podcast version of the Outdoor Magazine Radio show. Speaking of podcasting, because that's the hot topic, everybody's got a podcast these days. Well, I got a few of them too. Aside from the podcast version of the Outdoor Magazine show, I do a monthly podcast for Jay's Sporting Goods, Offshore Tackle, Angler Quest Boats, Polar Craft Boats, Shadow Hunter Blinds, and I keep an eye out for that. And let's see, when we're done here today, we're going to record the next edition of the Angler Quest podcast, talking with Brad Dupuis, Mr. Angler Quest himself, about how this supply chain situation has affected Angler Quest. Can you get a new Angler Quest for 2022 if you want one? And believe me, those 2022s are beautiful. So more on that. I told you in the first hour that our featured guest in hour number 2 was a guy that I have so much respect for. He's one of the most interesting guys I talk to here on the show. He has spent a career protecting and defending our country, protecting and defending our citizens. He is recently retired, very recently retired, so now he can concentrate on his true love, and that is extreme long-range shooting. Paul Phillips is a Michigan guy, a friend of mine, who is undisputed, one of the best extreme long-range shooters in the world. He's made shots at more than 4 miles. Now they're going to push this out to 5 miles. Paul's with us on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Paulie, welcome back. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. I'm retired, and it's hunting season, so what could be better?
I see you scheduled that retirement just before gun season started. I bet that was intentional.
Well, it worked out pretty well, the timing of it all, but gosh, I sat my first day in this tree stand, retired. I thought, boy, I'm not sure if I want to go back to work.
So listen, I want to talk about this to the extent that you can. You've had a very, very interesting career, going back to starting in the Marine Corps.
Yeah, I graduated from Dow High in Midland, and went right in the Marine Corps. I didn't goof around. I didn't have a chance to party or anything. I just went right up in the Marine Corps, and that was in 1986. And then just a few days ago, I turned my gun and my badge, and it's been a long career. 35 years of serving my country in the military and on the streets as an officer, and then the last 20 I've been in a federal agency, and traveled to pretty much everywhere in the world, put 6 million miles on the plane, and and now it's time to relax and enjoy the great state of Michigan and hunting and fishing and all the things we talk about all the time.
I can't see you relaxing very much, though. I'm not sure you're wired that way. You're always going to have something that you're working on.
Well, I'm going to try. I'm going to try to relax a little bit.
Well, yeah, and I'm sure you will, but I'm thinking of some of these projects you told me you've got coming up. Let me back up a step here. I know we're going into gun season here, but you and I were talking a while ago. You bought yourself a crossbow, and there was a conversation online about, these new crossbows can shoot to 100 yards. If anybody can do it, Paul Phillips can do it. But you had some very interesting comments on this, not just a crossbow and archery, but a rifle as well, right? The tool can probably do more than the hunter behind it has the capacity for, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. We talked about this a long time ago when you were on TV, if you remember correctly. We did a segment on me a long time ago.
Yeah.
And it was talking about accuracy of rifles, and one of the questions you asked me was, how far can we effectively hunt with a rifle? Well, it's really the same topic, right? Our maximum effective range of a rifle or bow. And it's gonna differentiate between anybody that's shooting a bow or a gun, depending on what you're using. No matter what you do, though, as a responsible hunter, you should take your gun or bow or whatever it is that you're hunting with out to the range or some private land, and you should test it out, test your equipment out. What are you capable of? How far can you shoot and keep your groups within a maximum effective, group size for maximum effective range, and also have energy to ethically take an animal. So that's something that everybody needs to discover, and everybody's different. Everybody's confidence level is different too. So that's a good question, a nice thing to talk about. For me, being a long-range shooter and, with these new bows now, I mean, I shot a 3-inch group. Well, actually, I took it from 20 yards, 30, 40, 50, all the way to 100, every 10 yards from 20 to 100, and I kept going farther and farther, and I was shooting 3-shot groups. Not one distance did I ever go more than 3 inches from where I was aiming out to 100 yards. And the 100-yard group was only 3 inches in diameter. So that gives me confidence to know that if I see an animal and it's presenting me with a nice broadside target, standing still, I can reach out to 40, 50 yards, no problem now. 100, I'm not sure if I would take a shot that far, but I just know that my capabilities have greatly increased from when I used to shoot recurve back in the 80s, with the fingers, leather fingers,
Yeah.
Our shots back then were, I would say a 40 was a long shot.
Oh, yeah.
Probably 20 to 30 at the most with a recurve with fingers. So, it's just some food for thought. The same thing with a rifle. If you're shooting a rifle and you go into the range, you want to be able to shoot, you want to be able to shoot inside of 6 inches at whatever distance you can shoot. And then obviously with a bullet and a rifle, you're talking a lot more energy. But, you should be able to maintain, 3 or 5 shot groups in a row. And that's showing consistency out to whatever range you can effectively do that. And then obviously, with those distances, we have to have technology, right? With my bow or my gun, I have to know the distance to accurately shoot that far. So that's a whole other process. If the deer is running through the area and I can't get an accurate distance on that deer, I'm not going to shoot. But if it's just standing there milling around and it presents itself and I can take a range on it and I know the range exactly to dial in or to aim, then, I might take a shot that's 30, 40, maybe even 50 yards, because I'm very confident with these new bows. They are wicked.
And the thing about taking your tool of choice out to these longer distances to prove to yourself that the tool can do it and you as the shooter can do it, if you're used to shooting at a longer distance and a critter, a deer, whatever, pops up at that shorter distance, it then feels like a chip shot because you're used to shooting at a longer distance.
Absolutely. The technology is there. It's advancing more and more each day. And, military, law enforcement, they're looking at the new technology. There's new, weapon systems. We are advancing, as we go with all these tools. We just need to be familiar with them, And if you're not up on all this stuff, it's in everything, Mike, your boats and your guns and your bows. And there's so much stuff out there nowadays that they really have advanced everything, even our blinds. When I was a kid, I just kicked up some logs. Well, now you have the 360-degree heated blind.
Yep.
It's great.
It is great. Now, some people will say all this technology has gone too far, but, I say whatever helps you enjoy the outdoors in the limited time that people have available with their schedules these days. Well, why not?
Absolutely. It's just, and the thing is, I saw some posts recently that you made. It just seems like today on social media, everybody's so opinionated. let people do what they want to do and be free and hunt how they want to hunt. Why is everybody so hell-bent on trying to critique everybody and try to tell them how to do things? I mean, it's a free country. As long as you're safe and you're ethical, let people do what they want to do and have fun.
Amen, brother Paul. Hunt your hunt. Hunt your hunt. And we are free because people like Paul Phillips have spent his life defending and protecting us. And that's why I have so much respect for Paul. But you know what? Just because he's retired, yeah, he'd like to tell you he's going to relax, and he will a little bit. But just because he's retired doesn't mean he's through pushing the envelope to see just how far technology and ballistics and archery can go. And after the break, we'll talk more about that as we continue our conversation with Paul Phillips, Global Precision Group LLC, globalprecisiongroupllc.com, right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Carroll on WKYO 1360 AM and WIDL 92.1 FM. You can hear us in Traverse City on WTCM 580 AM and in Marquette on WDMJ 1320 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by VersaSkins. VersaSkins, just change your skin for the season you're in, and I'll be doing that here. I've been wearing my VersaSkins in a camouflage pattern during bow season, but now when it comes up to firearm season, gun season, I've got a shell that is blaze orange, just camel blaze orange, and all I have to do is just zip that on and snap it on, and it takes literally just a few seconds, and I've turned my camouflage hunting coat into a blaze orange hunting coat so I can stay safe and legal, and I didn't even have to buy a new set of hunting gear. How cool is that? Just change the skin for the season you're in. VersaSkins.com is the website, VersaSkins.com. While you're online, please check out my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Head on over to this website, GlobalPrecisionGroupLLC.com. GlobalPrecisionGroupLLC.com is the website of a company that Paul Phillips started. Now that Paul is retired from his military and law enforcement activities over the years, he's going to spend more time on this company. And Paul, I know one of the things you're talking about is seeing how far you can push this envelope. Can you actually shoot out to 5 miles now? Is that even possible?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, we've been learning a lot over the last 3-4 years. We did, obviously did 2 miles in competition, one of only just a handful. Multiple times, and then we said, let's go farther. Let's just see how far we can push this. So we did the 3 mile, and then we did the 4 mile. So now we're going to go to 5, and we're just learning things as we go, and it's a learning process. There's a lot of learning to be done, but since we've been doing this, now, like we talked about earlier in the show, it's easier to shoot 2 miles now. So the farther we go, we learn things, and it's easier to push the closer distances a higher percentage hit ratio. So, like, for example, 25 years ago, I was trying to do a mile with a 300 Win Mag, and I was lucky if I hit it 1 out of 10 times in a mile. Well, now, you went out with me that one time, and you were like 6 inches from center the very first shot. So, we as we learn at farther distances, we apply it to what we've learned, and it makes it easier. So, we're getting better and better. Even across the board, worldwide in extreme long range, we're like in 15, 20 countries now, and everybody, all their numbers are exponentially going up for impact percentage hit ratios. So everybody's doing better across the board, and that's causing the manufacturers to stay busy and research and develop, and I'm part of that end of it as well, and research and develop ways to do it better. Just like our crossbows today, right? They've came a long way from the recurve. Yeah. So as technology grows, it gets implemented into the hunters, military, and law enforcement.
Will you have to develop a new cartridge caliber for that 5 mile shot, or will you use what's out there now?
I'll use what I have now. It's still working well enough, I think. based upon the numbers I looked at, I ran some numbers, analytics, and I believe that we can be successful doing that. At some point in time here, we're going to run out of juice. I think the maximum range of a shoulder-fired rifle using our powders that we have today available and the bullets, I think 5.5 to 6 miles is the end of the road. It's as far as it'll go, as far as it'll fly. So at that point, I think we're toward the end of the road now. I mean, once we reach 5 miles, I think that then I'll be looking at possibly a new cartridge or something to have more powder, more burn, bigger bullet, that sort of thing. But
what are you?
Even then, we're limited, right? So we're kind of at the end of the road.
And what are you shooting these days, Paul?
I shoot the 416 Barrett. It was designed by Chris Barrett with Barrett Manufacturing in Tennessee, and they're a huge military supplier, and he developed that round, and we've been using it for 3-4 years now, and it's been very, very successful. And it's taken a storm, around the world. A lot of people are using that cartridge, and others. There's other ones out there too. But I kind of got wrapped up into the 416 Barrett, and it's working well, so I keep using it.
I find this interesting that early on in your career, in some ways, probably your love and passion for shooting and long-range shooting was instilled, or at least your skills were honed by your time in the military. Now you've retired, and you're going back and working with the military again and teaching those guys things now.
Yeah, it's it's kind of an interesting thing how things come back around. I'm passionate, right? I want to give back to the community that helped me out. The military, law enforcement. I'd like to do some kids groups too, and maybe do some 22 shooting. But I just want to give back to all the things I've received over the years. But yeah, we're doing the Marine Corps Scout Sniper Association invited me down in December it's called the Snipers Gathering. It's in Texas in the beginning of December, and I'll be going down. That'll be my first gig post-retirement, so I'm looking forward to it. But anyways, I'm going to be going down there, and I'll be demonstrating some prototype things that I've been working on with other manufacturers to show the sniper community what's available, do some demos of what we're using as far as our technology in the competition world, and showing the military what we're doing and how we're doing it. And there's kind of an emporium where they have all these new products and they talk about them, and just also to support the Marine Corps and the Army sniper programs, and to help them generate some funds to give to soldiers and Marines that don't make it home, to their families, to help them out. There's some charity things going on, so I'm all about, helping the military out and giving back to what they gave me.
The equipment, gear, techniques, tactics you guys have developed for this extreme long-range shooting, will any of that then have a use in the military, or is it because the way you guys are using it so precise and takes so long to set up that it really doesn't have a military implication?
No, the stuff that we're doing, it's already being implemented. It may not reach the military as fast as we'd like, so we're kind of helping out with, educating them. Also, law enforcement too. Law enforcement, I think, is a little bit behind, quite a bit behind the military. It takes years for these high-level competitive shooters and the technology to reach it down to the user level, if you get what I'm saying. Even hunters too. There's stuff that's developed in the military that after a long time that the hunters can have that, like GPS, for example. Well, we were using GPS back in the 80s and sniper teams. Mm-hmm. Well, then it took a long time for that technology to get released to the average hunter that can go down now and buy a GPS and track his deer and mark locations, and now there's apps on phones. So it's a trickle-down effect with technology, but I'm trying to reach out to, help out as much as I can to, for those units that are using these things on an everyday basis. And it's more so the manufacturers too. I'm helping the manufacturers show the Marines and Army snipers, what's out there, what the capabilities are, and how we can help them out.
What gun will you be taking into the woods for the firearm opener here in Michigan?
That's a good question, because I just delivered like 4 of them to one of my manufacturers to work on. But I'll probably take my new 350 Legend I just purchased. I'll probably take that and hunt both northern and southern Michigan. I'm really excited about it. It's a 350 Legend. For southern deer hunting, you have to have the straight wall cartridge. It's legal now. They're very accurate. They have a lot of energy. And it's just like a regular rifle. It shoots very, very accurate, and which gives you a nice, safe, ethical. Matter of fact, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this or not, but I want to be hunting with Paul Jenkins on opening day. He's going to let me come hunt with him. So
you took my spot. So Paul's going, Avery Phillips. I'd take Phillips too if I was Paul.
Well, I'm sure you could come join us.
I told Paul, I said, there's not a whitetail on your property safe now if Paul Phillips is going to be hunting there.
Well, I think I asked him how far we'd be shooting, and he said, the max shot probably 125 yards. So I think I'll take the 350 Legend, the new one, and give that a test run. Now,
is that gun stock, like right off the shelf at Jay's or something, or I got a feeling you guys probably tricked it out?
No. Actually, it's all over the counter. I got it from Oakland Tactical down near Heartland. They got a big supply of stuff down there. I looked around. I went to Jay's, Cabela's. I went all around it. The supply chain right now is terrible. But I found a piece that I would like. It's the AR style CMMG 350 Legend, and I did put a nice scope on it, and I got some accessories. But it's over the counter, and it's surprisingly accurate, and it's really mild. It's tame to shoot too, and I'm putting a GSL 350 Legend silencer on it to make it quiet for my ears, and it tones it down, for your neighbors and stuff. And I'm really looking forward to using that for opening day.
In your hands at the range, what's the max distance on that gun?
Well, I've shot the 450 Bushmaster and the 350 Legend easily out to 400 or 500 yards. Nice group size, but I think for the energy, I probably would stay within probably 400 yards and in. I would have no problem taking a shot.
Man.
Yeah, 300-400 yards. Yeah. Again, though, we talked about before, I'm not going to shoot at a running deer that far away. It's got to be standing still, broadside, grazing. It's all dependent on the situation. As we all know, you could miss a deer at 10 yards away if it's running. So every hunter's got to, you got to understand your capabilities, and you got to, make those decisions wisely.
Paul Phillips, congrats on a wonderful career that's not over yet. Congrats on your retirement. Thanks for everything that you have done over the years to protect and defend our country and our citizens. And keep up the good work, man. I love following your adventures. You are literally one of the best extreme long-range shooters in the world, and I'm proud to call you a Michigan guy and proud to call you a friend.
Hey, thanks, Mike. Feelings are mutual. I love your show, and it brings us a breath of fresh air with all the craziness in our world right now. Hunting and fishing, and then going out in the woods and doing it.
There you go. It's a nice break. It's a nice break. All right, Paul, I got to let you go to the website, globalprecisiongroupllc.com, globalprecisiongroupllc.com. We'll take a break when we come back. Ashley Autenreith from the DNR with a look at what to expect from this firearm season coming up right here in the great state of Michigan. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Sheboygan on Big Country Gold, WCBY, AM and FM, 1240 AM, 100.7 FM. You can hear us in Muskegon on WKBZ, 1090 AM. And you can hear us in Iron Mountain on WMIQ, 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by MUCC's On the Ground program. OTG is a program to improve habitat for fish and wildlife across the state. For details, check out the Michigan United Conservation Club's website. It's MUCC.org. MUCC.org And you can use the promo code Mike, all caps, M-I-K-E, to save 25% on your MUCC membership at MUCC.org. How cool is that? Well, if you've noticed, our entire show so far up to this point has been getting ready for the Michigan firearm deer season. I don't think it's as big a deal as it used to be because we have a lot of other seasons now. We've got more bow hunters out there in the woods, but it's still a big deal, right? And even casual hunters can get excited about opening day and the firearm season. Ashley Autenreith is a wildlife biologist for the DNR, and she's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Ashley, welcome back. How are you?
Good morning. Thanks for having me. I'm doing great. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Always a pleasure to talk with you. And the question I get, and I'm no expert, but you are, what can we expect from this upcoming season? So I'll throw it right to you.
Sure, absolutely. I wish I had a crystal ball. I don't, but I can give you kind of what we're hearing so far and kind of what things are shaping up to look like. Thus far, I'm sure as we've all followed, it has been a great growing season. We had a relatively mild winter last year. We had a good spring going into it. It's been a great summer. So lots of reports of just seeing deer and seeing really nice looking deer. Archery season, boy, we have gotten some gorgeous pictures of bucks harvested. So overall, that's looking good pretty much across the state in terms of deer numbers, in terms of deer conditions. So that's really great. I don't want to jinx it, Mike, but it does look like the weather is shaping up to be really nice for opening morning. And so what I mean by that is the night before, we're supposed to be below freezing temperatures. That's really great for getting deer moving. We are supposed to have some snow opening day. That's actually a really good thing. Again, we're going to see deer moving. It's great for tracking purposes as well. So, again, not wanting to jinx it, but so far, what the weather is predicting looks pretty good for opening day and a lot of the week as well. So that's really encouraging.
Well, meteorologist Mark Torregrossa is joining us in the next segment to talk more about that. And we'll throw that on his shoulders, Ashley. So he is responsible for the weather, so you're off the hook there.
Perfect. Okay, good. Phew.
You talked about the big bucks we're seeing during bow season. Mm-hmm. Are we seeing bigger, more mature bucks being harvested in general here in Michigan, or is it just that social media shows them off so much? What is your feel at the level that you're at there in the DNR?
No, we can certainly report that in general, Michigan hunters have been shifting to wanting, more mature bucks. And when I say more mature bucks, I mean 2.5 years and older. That has absolutely been happening. And really, that's a trend over the last 10 years that we've noticed. Michigan used to be, really pretty low in terms of ranking. We had very high yearling numbers of harvest, which put us low in terms of like QDMA stats and things like that, where we've really flip-flopped. And so what I mean by flip-flopping is, 10 years ago, our harvest for yearling bucks was, 75% of our harvest of bucks was yearlings, which is quite high. It was one of the highest in the nation. We've actually flipped that now, and our harvest is about 25%, we estimate, for yearling bucks, which means, that's 75% that is harvested of bucks is, typically 2.5 years and older. That's a pretty dramatic shift, but that is what we have seen. And some of that is due to regulation, but actually most of that really is just hunters shifting what they want to harvest. So some of it, like I said, we have several counties in the northwest, northern lower that do have an antler point restriction. Those absolutely do work. We basically said it's illegal to harvest, a buck without, these number of points. And so, yes, it gets us to that 2.5 age class or older. But most of that really, can't be accounted for within the entire harvest of Michigan. So it's really come down to hunters and saying what they want to see.
Ashley, almost out of time, but deer check stations, disease check stations, what are we looking at this year?
Yeah, so hunters will certainly see a shift in that. We are having to diminish many of our check stations, and we are shifting how we do our disease testing as well. Part of that is due to the fact we now have online check-in for deer, which is great. And if people are interested in that, we highly encourage them to go to michigan.gov/DNR DNR harvest report. If they're not sure if their check station near them is going to be open, they can check at michigan.gov/deercheck. And of course, for disease testing, which we're still highly encouraging for anyone in the TP area, the Northeast area, and then areas with CWD, you can go to michigan.gov/CWD.
Ashley, always a lot of great information. Will you be out opening morning, or have you just had so much of whitetails you got to take a break?
Well, I won't be taking a break from that perspective. I won't be able to hunt because I will be basically doing media and working and working with hunters directly, which I really look forward to every year. So I won't be, but my family will be. So
wonderful, and hopefully you'll get a chance to get out there soon. Ashley Autenreith, always appreciate your time. The website for the DNR, michigan.gov/DNR, and you heard those different websites that Ashley put out. And don't forget this year about the online reporting. I think that's very, very cool. We will take a break. When we come back, this week's Ask Avery segment being taken over by meteorologist Mark Torregrossa. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Port Huron, WPHM 1380 AM, and you can hear us in Houghton Lake on the Twister 92.1 WTWS. The Ask Avery segment is brought to you each week by Security Credit Union. Security Credit Union loves to work with outdoorsmen and women, and they can help you with your next outdoor adventure. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. The way the Ask Avery segment works is this is your chance to pose a question to me. You can help me fill out this show, something you're interested in. It can either be a question you want me to answer, or you can ask me to direct the question to somebody else, somebody in the DNR or MUCC, or maybe Michigan's meteorologist. I've had a lot of people say, and this is a stretch here, right? I realize I'm stretching. Hey, Avery, I wonder what the weather's going to be like for the opening day. I'm thinking, I don't know, but Michigan's meteorologist Mark Torregrossa does, so I'm bringing him in to help us fill out this week's Ask Avery segment. Mark, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Hello there. I'm doing great. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. So there's a lot of anticipation. I mean, I realize by the time the show airs this weekend, we will have a much better handle on what the weather's going to be. But right now, midweek, it appears conditions look pretty good.
Yeah, they do. And, the forecast, sometimes the forecast is iffy. Sometimes it's quite stable in that, things are moving along and not throwing us a lot of curveballs. And I think that's going to be the case. So I think you're going to probably have temperatures in the 20s, 30s, and 40s on opening day, just depending on what time and how far north you are. 20s early in the morning, far north, 30s early in the morning, far south, and then warming into the 40s, and you got a northwest wind, and you've got some scattered lake effect rain and snow showers. And in the snow belts, you might have some accumulation. You might have a few inches on the ground, or at least in the grass in the woods come Monday morning.
Man, I'm not sure you could paint a better picture.
No, I'm always asking that question to hunters. Hey, what do you want? In fact, yesterday I wrote a post about this, and who did I call? You. I said, hey, order a weather pattern for opening day, and you pretty much pegged what we're going to have. Now, as we look out into the rest of the hunting season, the firearm season, it looks, I think, pretty nice. We've had years when you've had 60s and 70-degree temperatures, and you hear a lot about it's way too warm. I think this year, probably for the next couple of weeks, we're going to have a lot of 30s, maybe some 20s in the morning, probably some 40s, maybe a few 50s in the afternoon. Progressive weather patterns, so if you like to hunt ahead of a storm, you'll probably get the chance to do that a couple of times each week. If you like to hunt behind a storm on a north wind, you probably get a couple of days to do that too. So a little something for everybody, nothing extreme cold, nothing extreme warm, and that's usually a pretty good pattern.
Wonderful. Another factor that's big in the southern part of the state, at least, is the amount of standing corn. I know you're also work very closely with farmers. My sense is we got a lot of the corn down this year, Mark.
Yeah, as of yesterday, it was about 70%, and they are working hard because, their thing is the window to harvest and work the ground could close right away. So they're working 24/7 right now, and I would imagine by the time we get to opening day, it's probably going to be 90% of the whole corn will be harvested.
All right, now look into your crystal ball. I know you don't like it when I say that, but the weather patterns for winter in general, have you got a feel for that yet?
Well, you got to put the 800-pound gorilla in there, that the globe is warmer, the polar region is warmer, so you got to factor that in first. And then we have what's called a La Nina, second year of a La Nina, and it looks like we'll probably be averaging warmer than normal and averaging wetter than normal, which can be a real sloppy winter. I think it means that we get breaks, and that's what the global warming pattern does. Is if we get into a winter pattern by Thanksgiving or the first week of December, it probably lets up some in January, and we get some 30s and 40-degree weather, and then it comes back later on. So, I think on the storm system-wise, it could be quite active. That could be quite interesting. That could be rain, that could be snow, that could be freezing rain, sleet, and it could be heavier amounts than normal.
Mark, this whole science of forecasting the weather, this must have changed tremendously since you were first starting out with your career.
Oh, gosh. When I first started, we had 2 models, basically, and they went out 48 hours, and we got a snapshot at 12 hours out, 24 hours out, 36 hours out, 48 hours out. So if there was a storm system between 24 and 36 hours, you had to kind of interpolate when it would be. Now we have a lot of models. They go hour by hour. When I first started, the resolution was 80 kilometers. So just imagine, and I think that's probably 40 miles. So imagine a square, 40 miles by 40 miles. You live by the Midland area. A square over that would take up to Gladwin, would go out to Mount Pleasant, would go out to Bay City and down to Saginaw, and it would say rain in that. And very often that there's so many gradients of different weather in there. Now we're down to 3-kilometer resolution. So just think how many squares now at 3 kilometers would go in that 80-kilometer square back then.
Mark, always a pleasure. Folks can learn more about Mark on mlive.com and on his website, farmerweather.com, mlive.com, farmerweather.com. Michigan's meteorologist Mark Torregrossa helping me out with this week's Ask Avery segment. I'd like to thank the folks from Security Credit Union for helping to make each week's Ask Avery segment possible. Check them out online at securitycu.org, securitycu.org. Let's hope that Mark's forecast is accurate. I have faith that it will be. Hour 3 coming up after the break.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay Sporting Goods, the Yider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons and Polarcraft Boats, The Forward Corporation, Primal Tree Stands, Shadow Hunter Blinds, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction. I got caught, Charlie. I got caught looking at an email. No, this is actually a text. And I wasn't quite ready. My bad. Welcome to hour number 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine show right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network. My name is Mike Avery, also known as the Big Guy, and so glad to have you along with us. It's a great time of year, isn't it? The opening day of Michigan's firearm deer season just around the corner, kind of an unofficial holiday here in the great state of Michigan. We've been hunting deer here in this state for forever. I mean, I'm thinking back to when I was a kid. My granddad was hunting before that. I mean, how many generations now could we actually go back in a lot of Michigan families and say that they were deer hunters? And deer hunting is an interesting thing because it is what you make of it. You can be a hardcore addict, crazy person about deer hunting. You can be out there from October 1st with a bow, scents, scrapes, calls, putting in food plots all summer long, following the whitetail herd with your trail cameras. You can have a hit list. You can have them named. I mean, you can make it a year-round activity, and you can consider yourself a deer hunter. Or you can pick up the family 30-30, maybe the one that your granddad left you, and for one day a year, head out into the woods and try to knock down a whitetail. And you are a deer hunter too. Different ends of the spectrum, but still out there enjoying the same activity, still out there trying to put some venison in the freezer, still out there continuing this tradition of deer hunting here in the great state of Michigan. Is the opening day as big a deal as it used to be? No, not at all. But I think in large part that's because we've had so many seasons earlier on that kind of diminish the holiday of firearm deer season, but it's still a big deal. Now, having built that up the way that I just did, there's also a lot of other types of hunting going on in the fall too, right? Randy Budde is with Savage Dog Outdoors. He is, this guy's a master when it comes to predator hunting. Now, as we are recording this show, the firearm season hasn't quite opened yet, and Randy's been out there knocking down coyotes. In fact, he's had a couple of the best nights, I think, ever. He has taken more coyotes in one night than a lot of hunters would in an entire season that they called successful. He's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Randy, welcome. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Mike?
Hey, I'm doing real good, but man, you've been out there just putting a hurt on them.
Yeah, the last week has really been good. I've killed 24 since last Tuesday.
Like I said, Randy, that would be a good season for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's been good lately.
But you've had a good fall. I've been following you. You had a good bear season. You took a nice bear. I think your grandson took a nice bear.
Yeah, so we had a great bear season. There was 5 of us hunting, and we killed 5 bears. And my 9-year-old grandson, he killed his bear. So yeah, it was a great season.
That must have been a lot of fun, Randy, getting your grandson out there. I mean, I know what it's like from my personal experience. Pretty cool.
Yes, he's the one that I really wanted to get a bear out of the 5 of us. He hunted last year, and he only had three days to hunt, and we seen a bear, but he didn't get a shot at it. The bear come into the bait, and it was just there just a second, and it turned right around and went back. He never had a shot. This year he had the whole week to hunt, but he got up there. My wife, she's been putting in for a point, and she had 9 points, and she got a tag this year, and you can transfer your point to a youth hunter, and so she transferred her tag, to my grandson, and her grandson too.
Yeah, now that you think of it, I'm actually glad you brought that up because I'm sitting here thinking, how did this kid get Michigan tags 2 years in a row? But thanks for the explanation.
Yeah, that's a good program. But anyway, he didn't want to miss out on the youth hunt here at home, so he was hoping to kill a buck on the first morning of the youth hunt, and you know how that is. If you want to do something like that, it never works out. So the last few minutes of the last day of the youth hunt, he killed a really nice 8-point. He made a great 200-yard shot on it. He was hunting with his dad, and so they got up. They ended up getting up in the UP at bear camp on Monday night, too late to hunt. Then Tuesday night, he hunted, and he seen a bear, and he shot just a little bit below it and hit a log that the bear was straddling and missed it. He was pretty brokenhearted about that. Well, then the next night, we put him on a different bait, and a nice bear come in, and he killed it. The bear went about 5 yards and dropped. So that was great.
Isn't it funny how you get to a point where you honestly and legitimately enjoy watching other people have a harvest more than maybe you do yourself?
Yeah, it's great to see them get their first that type of animal. And my grandson, he's killed deer since he was 5 years old on the youth hunt, so that was no big deal. I still like to see it, but on the bear, he hunted last year and didn't get one, so it made it better yet this year.
Well, he's Randy Budde's grandson. He's got it in his blood.
Yeah, he likes to hunt. He likes to hunt, and for being 9 years old, he's a heck of a shot.
Oh, I love that. Now, will you guys be out during firearm deer season too, Randy?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I deer hunt quite a bit. Not so much with a bow anymore, but I did kill a buck with the crossbow this year, but I only hunted 3 times. I don't really get into it too much now. I'd rather go coyote hunting, but I will be spending a lot of time rifle hunting. And my grandson, he'll be out there trying to fill some doe tags later on, probably not the first day, but he will be out with either me or his dad later on in the season.
Do you put coyote hunting on the back burner then during gun season?
I do. I'll go a little bit during rifle season, but nothing like I did before. But I still will go a little bit. We're done now. I'm done now for 5 days because of the quiet time. I can go out with a rim fire, but I don't really care to hunt with a rim fire, so I'll wait till later on to go back out.
I bet for a while all you had was that rim fire, probably a 22 mag, huh?
Yeah, it used to be that's all we could use at night was a rim fire, and I didn't really get too involved in it then. And it wasn't real popular then, and I'm a center fire kind of guy. I do all my own reloading and stuff, and if I don't load the shell, I don't really use one to hunt with it. So
that is pretty cool. That's got to take it to the next level. It's like, okay, I had a hand. No, I loaded this shell that took that critter.
Yeah, my dad was a bench rest shooter, and as long as I can remember, which that's a long time, we'd always reloaded our own shells, and so I've been probably reloading shells for over 50 years.
So what do you hunt coyotes with these days?
Right now I'm selling the hides, and I'm using an AR-15 chambered in .224 Valkyrie, and I shoot 55 grain Sierra bullets out of it. It's really easy on the pelts, and it kills the coyotes good. Other parts of the year, I just recently fixed up a 6 by 6.8 SPC. It's a Wildcat cartridge, and I use that in the AR-15 for coyote hunting too. But it's a lot harder on the hides, so I stopped using that for a while.
So is the 224 a Wildcat? Because I'm familiar, obviously, everybody is with the 223, but the 224, I don't know anything about that.
The 224 Valkyrie came out a few years ago. Federal came out with it, and you've probably seen advertisements. They were advertising as I believe, 1,300-yard cartridge. It's supposed to say supersonic out to 1,300 yards, but that's with heavier bullets, with a 90-grain bullet. They don't work the best on coyotes. The best bullet I found, like I said, was 55-grain Sierra, but it's been out a few years.
We're talking with Randy Budde of Savage Dog Outdoors. Randy is the most proficient coyote killer that you'll probably ever meet. He's the most proficient guy I've ever interviewed here on the show, that's for sure. What did he say, 24 dogs in the last week, something like that? Again, that would be a great season for a lot of people. And Randy is always very willing to share his information and expertise and his tricks and tips as well. We've got to take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, we'll talk more with Randy about predator hunting, coyote hunting. A lot of people will be taking a little bit of a break for firearm season, but then it'll fire up in full swing. And then after that, we'll wrap up this week's show with wild game chef extraordinaire Dave Minar, and I bet he has a venison recipe. hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Houghton Lake on 98.5 WUPS. You can hear us in Holland on WHTC, AM and FM, 1450 AM, 99.7 FM. And you can hear us, let's stay on that side of the state, on Manistee, WMLQ 97.7 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Reader Landscaping. Reader can take care of your lawn and property because it's your nature and our nurture. Let Reader create an outdoor getaway in your backyard. Let them maintain your outdoor getaway. Let them improve your outdoor getaway. Let them design your outdoor getaway. Either your backyard, maybe your property up north. Reader, they travel a long ways. They did some work for us this summer. They finished up the neighbor's backyard. Looks absolutely beautiful. I came home from the studio last week, and they had done all the fall cleanup. They had cut down all the plants. Everything was ready to go. It saved me a lot of time there. I appreciate it. Check them out at readerlandscaping.com. That's readerlandscaping.com. And I hate to mention it, but they do snow removal as well. readerlandscaping.com. We're talking now with Randy Budde of Savage Dog Outdoors. You can find him online, Savage Dog Outdoors. Randy is the man when it comes to predator hunting. Randy, is it all coyotes? Do you hunt bobcats at all? Fox?
Yes, I do. I didn't get a bobcat last year. I got one the year before. You know, we only have a 11-day season, so it's pretty tough to call them in them 11 days. But, yeah, and then fox, if I do shoot a few of them when I've been out coyote hunting, of course, there's a season on them, which I haven't killed any this fall since it opened back up. But I don't get many fox. There don't seem to be a lot of fox around anymore. I think the coyotes are kind of driving them out.
And as far as the coyote and bobcat, they're really in different country, different territory, right? So if you're hunting for one, it's a specific hunt. You're not going to call in one while you're hunting for the other species, right?
Oh no, yeah, you do.
Oh yeah, really?
You can't hunt bobcats in Michigan after dark, but we call them in quite often out coyote hunting. They're a lot different. It comes with a call a lot different than the coyotes. Bobcats usually they'll kind of hang back and they'll just sit there, and they'll sit and look and look and look. And whereas a coyote, he don't spend much time in one spot. He's usually moving most of the time. But the bobcats, they're not near as wild either. When they do come up to the call, they'll be there a long time. I mean, they'll crouch down and they'll lay there and watch it. Whereas coyote, when he comes up to that call, he might be there a second or two, and he's out of there.
Well, I'm thinking about the house cat and the house dog. I mean, they're canines and felines, right?
Yep.
I also, too, people ask me this all the time. What do all these coyote hunters do with these animals? But you said now, this time of year when their fur's getting good, you can actually sell that, right?
Yeah. The last few years, coyotes is about the only thing that's been worth anything. So, yeah, and I think the price is up a little bit better on them this year. I've sold, usually you don't start taking them until about November, but he did take them a little earlier this year. So it's been pretty good so far this year.
If you are out there, obviously predator control to have fun, but if you're looking to get some hides to sell as well, do you, and maybe this is a stretch, and forgive me for asking this, do you do headshots on those animals then?
Sometimes, but usually that rifle really can blow a pretty big hole out the backside of their head. But you got to be careful what setup you're using when you're trying to save the hide. That 224 Valkyrie I'm using, it's just a little bit faster than a 223. So a 223 shooting 55 grain bullets would be pretty good on the hides, and then too you got to watch where you shoot them. If you shoot them up by the edge, like shoot them through the top of the back or something, it's going to tear a huge hole in the hide. So it depends, A lot of people use bigger guns like 6.5 Grendel or 6.5 Creedmoor and something like that, it usually puts a pretty big exit hole in them.
Yeah, I was forgetting, when you skin these things for their fur, you skin the whole animal. Like the fur, the pelt has the head on it too, doesn't it? The skin from the head. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, but luckily the guy that I sell them to, he takes them whole. I don't even have to skin them. I just take them down there and drop them off. I get less money that way, but I like it a lot better this way.
Oh, man.
I don't really like skinning them stinking things. I don't know if you've ever been around many coyotes. The smell of them things are terrible.
I have not, but I'll tell you what, the worst thing I have ever smelled in the wild, I was fortunate to shoot a wolf in Ontario several years ago now, and when I walked up on that thing, Randy, it was the most foul-smelling beast I could have ever imagined. Well,
that coyote is just pretty much the same. Maybe a little smaller smell.
Hey, I want to go back to a topic about you kind of give the coyotes, for the most part, a break during gun season. Is that because you don't want to muck up your hunting areas? Is that because you don't want to cause conflict with deer hunters? What's the reasoning there?
It's part of it. I don't want to cause conflict with the deer hunters, because the landowners are good enough to let me come hunt on their property, so I don't want to do anything that might screw up their deer hunting.
Gotcha.
And in reality, it don't affect the deer. I mean, I can walk out there in the field in the dark, and some of the sounds I like, the deer don't really like. Some of the sounds I use, and it'll scare them out of the field. But then a lot of times I'll sit there just quiet at the end to see if a coyote might be going to sneak in on me after I shut the call off. And those deer, they just start coming right back out. So it don't really affect them, but you don't want to make the deer hunter mad either.
No.
It's his property probably. So, and then also, I'm an old guy. I got to have some sleep, Mike. So I get up early in the morning and go deer hunting, and I hunt it at dark. A lot of times I don't feel like going out after dark. So.
Yeah, I don't blame you. And you're talking about watching those deer come back in the field. You know what's going on in these fields, because if I remember right, you're using all infrared stuff at this point, aren't you?
Thermal imaging.
Thermal.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
But what? Okay, is there a difference between infrared and thermal?
Well, usually when they say infrared, they're thinking. Usually, most people mean like the digital night vision and stuff like that. And you have to, on a good dark night, you have to have an infrared light that shines out there. And on the thermal, it's picking up the heat. It don't need no light at all. And there's a huge difference in how they work. Thermal, I can see a deer out there a mile away on a good night with thermal, and with a digital infrared scope, you're probably limited to 300-400 yards as far as you can see.
Man, that thermal imaging, what a great tool to recover a whitetail that you've shot.
It is. Them are a fantastic tool. I've said it before on here. You can see a mouse out there 100 yards in the field, and it, like, for locating them coyotes in the field, it's usually fairly easy as long as the grass or whatever's in the field ain't high enough that covers the coyote up when he's laying down. Because if there's a little piece of that coyote sticking out, it stands right out in that thermal. I found a lot of deer that's been shot with that thermal. It's a great tool, but the price is not so good.
Yeah. Well, the level you guys have taken predator hunting to nowadays with the gear, the rifles, the optics, the thermal, it can get pretty expensive.
Yes, and it's easy to spend $2,000 to $6,000 on thermal, but for night hunting, you pretty much got to have a thermal scanner. I mean, that's almost a necessity for night hunting. and you can get into them for around $2,000. Yeah, it's not cheap.
Yeah, but as I said that, I'm thinking about it. Everybody's got their passions. If somebody likes to fish and that's their thing, they've spent more than that $6,000 on their boat for sure. If they like off-roading, they spent more on that than that on their rig. I mean, we've got our passions, we've got our toys, we got to have to go along with them.
Yep. Yeah. I've got probably $13,000 in the thermals that I have, but I use them year round, and I'll use it. I'll probably average using them 2 or 3 times a week for a year round. So, and then come rifle season, I'll be taking my thermal scanner out there with me. A few years ago, I was out deer hunting, and it was good and light out, but I could see 3 deer standing in the edge of the woods with my thermal, and I'd pick up my binoculars, and I'd look, and I can't find these deer.
Uh-huh.
I look back in the thermal, and they're still there. They're out there probably 300 yards plus, but I'm thinking when I go to the binoculars, I'm thinking they must have left because I can't find them. Well, eventually, I finally found them deer in the binoculars. That's just how good them thermals are.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Hey, if and when we ever get a wolf hunt here in Michigan, is that something you guys at Savage Dog would be interested in? I mean, you got all this experience hunting predators. A wolf would seem like the next logical step for you guys.
Yes, if we ever get one, it would I would be after them.
Yeah.
It'd be great if they opened it up for nighttime hunting, like the coyotes, like they did in Wisconsin.
Yeah. Well, if they do it like Wisconsin, they let the dog hunters out there and the trappers too. It'll be a lot more efficient than our first hunt was for sure. Randy, listen, I got to let you go. It's always a pleasure, my friend. Send people to Savage Dog Outdoors, and you and your family have a wonderful season. And I will be checking in with you here as wintertime jumps in on us to talk about wintertime predator hunting. All
right. Well, nice talking to you, Mike.
Same here, Randy.
Good luck deer hunting.
I appreciate that. Randy Budde of Savage Dog Outdoors. And I need all the luck I can get when it comes to deer hunting. And I fully admit that. But I've always said I'd rather have a dumb critter or a dumb fish and me on a lucky day anytime rather than try to rely on skill, because my skill level is maybe not what it could be. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Ludington on News 97.98, 98.7 WLDN. You can hear us in Sandusky on WMIC 660 AM, 95.3 FM. You can hear us in Escanaba, WCHT, AM and FM, 600 AM, 95.3 FM. And you can hear us in Saginaw on another combo station, WSGW, 790 AM, 100.5 FM. Takes us to 32 affiliates here now, AM and FM stations across the great state of Michigan. I'm actually in the studios of WSGW right now. For this 3 hours each week, they've let me carve out a little corner of one of the studios. And I'm in here this week with Charlie Rood, who does a wonderful job as always. And there is a crowd out there today, but it's not as big as it has been. And I don't know if it's, I don't know, Charlie, what it is. But, I only will see like 40, maybe 50 people out there. And there are days when we've had a couple hundred. Maybe it's the weather. Maybe it's people are just busy. I don't know. But I record every Wednesday. And if you want to come to the studios and stand out there in the driveway and hold up signs, yay, Charlie, go Charlie, feel free to join us. Come on down and join us. Wouldn't that be funny if somebody really did? Oh, my name is Mike Avery. This is the Outdoor Magazine radio show. My website is MikeAveryOutdoors.com. MikeAveryOutdoors.com. The email address is Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Feel free to get in touch with me via email with any questions, comments, anything you want to know about, want to talk about. I will ask you, though, with the firearm season coming up, and I will be inundated in a good way with pictures of smiling hunters sitting over deer. Because I will get so many pictures, I'm going to ask you this. Please, if you want me to share them, don't email them to me. If you just want me to see them, yes, please email them to me at mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. But if you want me to share them on, say, Facebook, please post them to my Facebook page, and then I will share them so everybody can see them. I just get so many pictures this time of year. It's much, much easier. In fact, if we don't do it that way, sometimes things fall through the cracks, and I hate it when that happens. So go to the Facebook page, post your picture there with a little bit of a description, and then I will share it so the world can see it. Can I ask you one thing, though? Can you put the deer's tongue back in its mouth? I saw a couple pictures the other day, and beautiful. I mean, very well composed, excellent lighting, beautiful background, magnificent buck, smiling hunter, and the deer's tongue was hanging out. And it just took the whole thing and just kind of dragged it down. It's just my opinion, right? But it's such a little thing. It takes literally just a couple of seconds to do that, and it makes for a much better picture. You're going to be looking at that picture for years and years and years. And listen, I know as hunters there is a certain amount of satisfaction in coming up on an animal and realizing you've made a good, clean, effective shot, and you know what that results in. It makes a mess, right? But again, when it comes to pictures, well, drag the deer over a few feet so it's on some clean leaves or, clean corn stubble or whatever. Maybe wipe it off a little bit, put the tongue back in the mouth, and you will have a much nicer picture. And when I bring this up, and I do all the time, people say, Avery, you're caving into the anti-hunters. No, I'm not. I'm not caving into the anti-hunters. I will never, ever cave into the anti-hunters. In fact, I've been known to do things just to rile them up and try to get under their skin. I will never cave into the anti-hunters. What I want to appeal to is the vast majority of people out there who are online these days who are not hunters. And just because you post a picture on your personal page doesn't mean that's where it's going to stay. And a lot of people can see that image, and it's going to end up, because I learned this the hard way. A lot of people who you didn't intend to see that picture are going to see it. And if you do your part in portraying us as hunters in a positive manner, it helps the cause. Again, not to the antis, because listen, they're a lost cause. We'll never change them. They'll never change us. But this 80% of people in the middle who are non-hunters, non-anglers, they don't participate, but they have no real sense of what we do. They have no sense of whether what they think what we do is right or wrong. We know it's right. But if we can put out online a picture of a beautiful buck, it looks nice, the tongue's in the mouth, the hunter has a big smile, it just helps the cause, right? And I love seeing pictures of people with smiles on their faces. Every youth hunt I get, for sure, every kid has a great big smile on their face. And that's what it's all about. Yes, we can hunt whitetails because it's biologically sound. It's biologically necessary. It helps control the herd. It helps control disease. It helps the farmers because they eat less of their crops. I get it. All those things are good, sound. It helps make the population healthy, the deer population. I get it. It puts venison on the table. I get it. It helps make us part of this history and tradition. I really get that. But why do we do it? Because it's fun. It's fun to get out there and match wits with Mother Nature, with critters, fight the elements. They don't always cooperate with us. Get out of your comfort zone. Get out there. You might get a little bit cold. You might get a little bit wet. You might be a little uncomfortable, but isn't that nice? Do something different. Get out there and have fun. Welcome back to Outdoor Magazine. This segment of the show brought to you by my friends from Wilds Plumbing and Heating. Plumbing, heating, air conditioning, sump pumps, ductwork cleaning, you name it. The folks from Wilds can keep your house running soundly, keep you nice and warm this winter. Make sure you don't have to worry about anything. Maintenance contracts, repairs if something does go wrong, replacement if you need new units. The folks from Wilds can take care of it, as they have for me for many years in 2 different houses now. Check them out online at wildsplumbingandheating.com, wildsplumbingandheating.com. Their slogan is whatever it takes. I love working with people who have that kind of attitude. Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes to get the job done right, whatever it takes to satisfy you as the customer, the folks at Wilds have that mindset. wildsplumbingandheating.com. If you've been with us before, thank you. If you are new to the show, thank you as well. I do appreciate that. But the point is, if you've been with us before, you know that we wrap up each week's show with wild game chef extraordinaire Dave Minar. And guess what? He is here once again. David, welcome back.
Still here, Michael.
Still kicking.
Yeah, after all these years.
Oh, have you been out hunting at all, Dave?
I have seen some smaller deer and no real big does yet, but I'm waiting.
Well, one of those big fat does walks in front of you and turns sideways. She's going to be in trouble, I bet.
I think you're absolutely right.
And what would we do, wild game chef extraordinaire Dave Minar, if we put down one of those does? How would you cook one up?
Well, I like a nice roast, personally. It's a nice hearty meal. You could actually make this in advance, take it up to deer camp, and heat it up slowly in the oven or a Dutch oven over the campfire. So it's a nice large portion we're going to do. So you're going to need about 3 to 3.5 pounds of a full round steak or nice big chunks, So you're going to figure about 8 ounces per person, okay? 2 to 3 medium onions, diced up in nice large pieces. This is going to be real hearty. Same thing with celery, say 3 to 4 stalks of celery, 3 to 4 carrots, diced large after you peel them. And if you like garlic, anywhere between 2 and 4 cloves of garlic diced up real fine. And if you like the flavor of bay leaves, if you're going to put 4 or 5 in, make sure you take them out because they never really get soft and you don't want anybody to have any problems choking on it or something like that. I like to use Italian spice in this, or if you like only basil or oregano, use that. You're going to need about a half a teaspoon or to your flavor, more or less. I like to put Burgundy wine in this, but if you're going to be drinking a Merlot or a Cabernet, by all means use that same wine in this dish. 3 to 4 medium potatoes, same thing, diced fine, and 2 big turnips peeled in large cubes. Store them in water for a while until near the end because they're going to cook faster than all the rest of this stuff. Anywhere from 4 to 6 cups of water. And you're going to need, you can buy that better than bouillon in the grocery store. It's really good. Or get beef base from Gordon's or one of those supply places like that. And that's going to be to your taste. It's going to really build up and enhance this flavor. And we use cornstarch with this one to thicken it up. Nice fresh ground black pepper, a little bit of flour, and some olive oil. So leave the meat in nice hearty chunks, probably anywhere from 4 to 5 ounces per piece. And this will help it remain moist when you're doing this. So roll it in flour, shake it off real good, and brown it on all sides in a nice heavy pan, and remove it to a large oven-proof pan. And when you get that all done, add your onions and celery and carrots and garlic and everything else and the spices. And you want to saute that up nice and gently over a low heat. Stir it all the time so it doesn't burn. And then you're going to take that red wine and put that in that pan. And what that's going to do, and you keep stirring it, and all that nice, good stuff that's in the bottom that's got good flavor that's going to add to this dish. So then you can add the rest of the liquid and the vegetables to the pan with the meat. Just enough water to cover, and how much sauce you think you're really going to need. So bring it up to a boil. Once you get it up to a nice rolling boil like that, you want to start to thicken it up with that melted cornstarch. And when you get it to a nice thickness that you think you're going to like, I would say get it in an oven, 350 degrees, and start checking it after an hour, hour and 15 minutes. Depending on how big the deer was or how old it was, that's going to take time also. So you're going to have to check it. And then about 20 minutes before being done, add the potatoes and the turnips. And then finish cooking until everything else is nice and tender. And this would go good over biscuits or mashed potatoes or rice or noodles, anything hearty like that. When you come in from deer hunting, you want something to warm you up, and this is going to do it.
Oh, David, it sounds absolutely outstanding.
I've made this so many times.
All right, Dave, well, listen, I appreciate that. Good luck in the woods. You and Terry go out and knock something down, and we'll talk about it next week.
You too, Michael.
All right, sounds good. Wild Game Chef Extraordinaire Dave Minar, a big part of the Outdoor Magazine show, as are you. I appreciate you listening so much. Again, the website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Share your pictures with me. Put them on the Facebook page and post them on the Facebook page, and I'll share them. Have fun. Get out there. Be safe. If you're going to go up in a tree, wear a full-body harness, please. And just get out there and enjoy this Michigan tradition that is the firearm deer season. We'll talk about it more next week right here on Outdoor Magazine.